Hi, this is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore, and I'm here to pump you up. Let's think about joining the resistance and at least starting to include some variable resistance training or some sort of resistance training, some sort of muscle building activity into your life, because frankly you need it. Sarcopenia is a killer when you really think about it. That is muscle wasting, and when you're going to lose muscle tissue unless you actively work to fight that happening. It starts happening after age 30, and it starts to accelerate dramatically after age 40. And this is one of the reasons why so many metabolic problems start to really kick in on people when they turn 40 and get older. We notice the middle-age spread getting much worse. Our blood pressure starts to go up. If we're looking at blood markers, we realize that our triglycerides are going up, etc. And why is that happening? We're eating the same stuff that we ate in our 20s and 30s, yet our body is betraying us. What's going wrong? Well, part of the reason is you're losing muscle tissue. And that happens at a rate, where you're losing, 5 to 10% per decade, and that's only accelerating as we get older. And the reason why muscle tissue is so important from a metabolic standpoint is this is where your body stores glucose first. But if you don't have the muscle tissue anymore, your body has to start using insulin, which is going to create fat around your body. And one of the first places it does that is your liver. So you get this fatty liver disease, you start getting fat around your organs, etc. This is the worst type of fat that you can have, and that's where your body starts to store this stuff. And it creates this horrible bad metabolic storm that just starts to make you unhealthier. And this, your arteries start to get inflamed because of the high glucose levels, etc. And this is why this downward cascade seems to be happening to so many people after 40s. But the good news is it's relatively easy to start putting on new muscle. And if you're not putting on new muscle by doing some sort of resistance training, you're losing muscle. Them's your trade-offs. So how do you put on more muscle? Well, one of them is to get adequate protein. And you can get protein from a lot of different sources, but I will tell you that if you try to get it from protein shakes, or trying to get them from plant-based sources, you got a problem, because it's just difficult for your body to absorb it. I mean, one of the reasons why I like carnivore so much is it just makes it real easy to eat, red meat. And when you're eating red meat, eggs, and stuff like that, you're getting adequate amounts of protein. How much protein do you need? That is a billion-dollar question. Nobody really knows the exact answer, but somewhere between about 1 gram per pound or 1 gram per kilogram, which is 2.2 pounds. So anywhere in that range should be more than enough adequate protein. I will warn you that as you get over your 60s, your body's ability to absorb protein gets even worse. So, you actually need more as you get older. That's, just kind of a rule of thumb. But you need to have that protein as a basic building block to keep the lean tissue, and you need to incorporate resistance training. And frankly, that's not as hard as it may seem. You can join a gym, but frankly, only about 8% or so of Americans actually belong to a gym, and half of those people quit going within a few months. So, we're talking about 3 to 6% or so of Americans are actively going to a gym and all that. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, if you're going to the gym, and particularly if you've got the support of a friend of yours or something like that, or a family member, your chances of success go up pretty dramatically. But you don't even have to do that. I mean, you can use body weight. You can get a pull-up bar for $50 or less from Amazon that you don't even have to use any tools to put up. You just stick it in the door jamb and it'll work. And you can do a lot with that. You can get a suspension trainer. Mine I bought over a decade ago for under $50, and you can do all sorts of exercises with that, or you can get resistance bands. I read the book Weightlifting is a Waste of Time during COVID because they closed the gyms, and at that time I'd been doing CrossFit, and I started poking around and found this book on using resistance bands, and found out, because I couldn't get weights at that particular time. Trying to find them were really difficult because everybody was trying to build their own home gyms at that particular moment. And they were, and if you could find them, they were really expensive. But you could get resistance bands for under $50, and when I started looking at YouTube videos, I realized that I could do virtually anything with resistance bands that I could at a really good gym. And so this is my home gym now, $50 worth of bands, and I'm able to do virtually everything that I used to do at the CrossFit gym. And and because I get to do this at home, I don't have to worry about going to the gym. I don't have to worry about getting dressed up. I don't have to worry about what I'm going to wear at the gym, etc. I can wear anything I jolly well please. Do my resistance training, and my program's pretty simple. I just use an interval timer and try to do as much as I can within a minute, as pushing it where I can barely finish up whatever I'm doing within that minute, and then I take a 30-second rest and then go to the next exercise. And I just kind of alternate between pushing and pulling exercises, and I can get most of the muscle groups done, and I'm done in 15-20 minutes, and that's enough. And what's really cool is when I look at different things that show, okay, where should you be, or what are the standards for different push-ups and sit-ups and other metrics of health and strength, I'm in the upper 5%. And I'll grant you, the bar is pretty low, when the majority of Americans can't even do 5 push-ups, and only about 17%, according to one survey, can do more than 10 at any given point of strict military push-ups. And the fact that I wake up in the morning and do 25 shows that I'm really, my age group, I am doing heads and shoulders above everybody else. Which to me means that the bar is pretty low, because I am not an athlete by any stretch of the imagination. But what do I want? I want strength, and I want muscle tissue, and I don't want to end up in a wheelchair. My goals are pretty simple, is just to have more muscle, more strength, not hurt myself. I do not want to be in a first name basis with any orthopedics down the road. That's kind of my goal. And the way I can avoid that is just by doing basic exercises a few times a week. And it's amazing, that when you do this over time, I mean, frankly, when you start off, you're not going to be doing all that great, but when you look at your progress over a course of a year, you're going to find, you're going to make your best gains when you first start off. And you're going to get stronger, and it's going to improve every marker of metabolic health. Like, it's not the way for you to lose weight. Exercise is not, maybe it's about 10% of weight loss. 90% of it is really going to be your diet, but it is a great adjunct to it for your overall health and an improvement in your metabolic health. All these things are all going to work together to make you bigger, better, stronger, and able to resist metabolic issues, able to resist disease down the road. And look, bad things are going to happen. I mean, I had a heart attack. I had open heart surgery because I had a bad heart valve. Okay, life happens, but I was able to get back into my life within weeks. I mean, a lot of people that you know that are in their 60s that have open heart surgery have to go to rehab centers and are down for months. I was back at work within a couple of days after leaving the hospital because, frankly, you know, the only restriction I had was I couldn't lift anything heavier than a gallon of milk for a little while. But once that was over, I'm back to resistance training. I'm back to where I was. You know, I wake up every morning. I hang from a pull-up bar for 2 minutes. I do my basic strength exercises. I do 25 push-ups. I'm doing core stuff. I'm doing, you know, kettlebell swings and stuff like that just to kind of start the day. And I do that at least 5 to 6 times a week. And then heavy resistance training a couple times a week. You know, we're not talking about a huge commitment in terms of time. I'm not some sort of super athlete. You know, I just do a little bit over time, and that's what's going to help me get stronger for the long haul. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. If you like this message, please hit like and subscribe. Join this channel of other like-minded folks. I try to put out a couple messages each week, and I will talk to you again soon.